Hi, Teresa.
Good
How are
morning.
you? How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited to be here and hi to everybody that knows me that's watching.
Me too. I want to welcome you and everybody else to Mavens of Manufacturing. And I want to start off the conversation just getting to know more about you. I've known you for at least 3 years now, I think, maybe a little bit more. I met you at a manufacturing event in Rockford, Illinois, and Steve Schubert is the one that said you need to get to know her. And I
I
got
love
to know
Steve.
you. I got to know you and uh, joined the Women of Today's Manufacturing group with you and
Mhm.
attended a Women in Manufacturing event with you. And one of my most memorable moments with you is you told me that, you're not going to remember everyone's name in the room at certain events, but make sure they remember you. And you had a bright pink jacket on that I loved, and that always stuck with me. And
Thank you.
I still try to do that
Mhm.
today when I go to certain events and meet people. I try to make that good first impression. So thank you for that bit of advice. But you are the owner of Superior Joining Technologies in Machesney Park, Illinois. Can you tell us a little bit what that company is and what industries you guys serve?
Well, Tom Shelow and I started this business in our garage, and we're at our fifth location. We get 5 times bigger every time because we're serving 85% aerospace. So we have 33 wonderfully talented employees with lots of certifications that they work under and have. And we serve the industry very diligently, and we're excited to do it.
And I know with the pandemic that has really hit the aerospace industry, specifically travel. And I know that's part of what you do. So, as an owner, how has the pandemic presented challenges to you, and what sort of things have you done, to comfort your employees and keep business flowing through your doors?
Well, the first thing I did was fly in July, and I've flown multiple times. Come fly with me. I even did a LinkedIn post on that because my industry is in duress because of COVID 19. I have tried to educate myself every day with all the changing rules and laws, and then with strength and truth and information, tell my employees. And we had a survey that we do every couple years, and we had added a question for our employees about how did they feel things were being handled with COVID, and we got 5s out of 5 for every single employee. So they feel like we've been honest with them up front, and we've taken the best care that we can. We haven't had any work related COVID events, and we're really grateful. I felt it was difficult to take the PPP. I'm not used to having that kind of opportunity I have applied for grants before for the community, so I understand it. But because of the employees that I have in house, really the PPP was perfect. I kept my employees. They are highly skilled, trained people that are very difficult to replace. And that was really a big help to me. We were 25 to 30% down, just like many manufacturing companies throughout the year. Um, some of my friends lost their orders immediately. We did not. And but by the end of the year of 2020, it was difficult. So it's exciting to come into 2021. It's difficult to plan. My crystal ball is always cloudy in January, but we made a plan, and we're moving forward, and we're coming out of the chute, so to speak, very strong and very excited. And then from the personal side, because you said, I own Superior Joining it with Tom. I feel that the COVID-19 has made being an owner even more lonely. Sometimes it's lonely as an owner anyway, and you work lots of hours. Your family doesn't understand why you're doing it. Not everybody does. And when we're not able to attend trade shows or associations that we belong to, or go out to meals with minded people to see how things are going and talk about issues and talk and get support and enjoyment. It makes it hard. I think that it was a hard year. And if you were someone that was just alone in your house day after day, that would be really hard. But I think it was also hard to come into work every single day and to support the people that were here and manage the collective fear and concern it weighed heavy. It was difficult.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I know some companies that have done regular like employee events where they get together, either it's after work or during lunch or something. That whole dynamic has changed. And initially I thought I wouldn't miss stuff like that because I am a writer, so I work really well remotely and on my own. But I agree, I miss going to trade shows and meeting new people. And I've attended a couple virtual trade shows, but it's just not the same. You can't shake someone's hand. You can't look at the actual products and pick them up and touch them. And sometimes that's important when people are trying to make buying decisions too. You want to feel that item in your hand and look how it's made and hear the sounds. And it's just really, really strange. And on the personal side, with all the sporting events that they're having on TV, it's weird hearing the fake audience noises that they're putting in the background, and it's just not the same. So hopefully 2021 we'll be able to start opening up some doors more and getting people excited to be out in public again. I know my boys need to go out in public because they're going crazy in my house.
We all
but with Superior joining technologies too, you have a lot of employees that are welders, correct? They really talented welders. And I know that you have a lot of other interesting technologies that you're working with. Do you want to touch on some of those a little bit?
Yeah, we have 11 different profit centers. We do precision welding, non-destructive testing, multi-axis laser cutting and welding, micro welding, and 5-axis machining. And then we just added a new lathe system. So I think maybe it's mill. I'm saying the wrong thing. But the other exciting thing we do is we have multiple 3D printers, and we do printing for customers and tools and prototypes. So it's very exciting.
I definitely want to invite you back for another conversation about your additive manufacturing stuff that you're doing, because you said you had an announcement hopefully coming up.
We have an exciting announcement coming up mid-year, and it would be great to talk about that later.
We'll have to invite you. So another thing that we've discussed, you're very passionate about manufacturing, and there's a lot of little things that you do outside of Superior to really get the community excited about the sector, but also to recruit younger generations. So can you touch on some of those things that you're involved with that, you try to do to help raise awareness of the sector and get people more interested in it?
Sure. 20 years I've worked with trying to encourage people to come into manufacturing or grow in manufacturing. And 2000, they said there was going to be a worker shortage and that the average age of manufacturers was 55, and we were going to have to replace them. And I knew that different times I learned from things was I went to camp to find out about it, or Girl Scout camp, and we learned things at camp. So I worked with John Lundeen at the Ability Center, and we came up with a manufacturing camp. It was for 5 days. And when people started hearing about it, FMA, the fabricator, wrote an article about it, and then they created an organization, Nuts, Bolts, Thingamajigs, and Nuts, Bolts, Thingamajigs took our idea, and now there are camps all over the United States, and they raise thousands of dollars and have hundreds of kids every year. come to manufacturing camp. So they might come and weld something, or they might make something. In fact, I'm going to carefully move, but there's a guitar hanging on my wall there. And that was made by a manufacturing camp that just in 1 week, but they 3D printed some of the parts. Some of the parts are metals that they turned, and some of the parts are wood, and they put together, and that guitar actually plays. And so when we were in Rockford, we made a hammer that we had knurls, all different machining processes, and that's perfect for Rockford's manufacturing. But the fun thing that we did on the last day of the camp was we rented a limo, and we put all the kids in a limo, and we took them to 3 different manufacturing plants so that they could see what was going on in these buildings where we don't have windows and stuff. So that evolved into Manufacturing Day. I was on the Manufacturing Day committee when that was started. And we have tours here. We do an 8-hour tour. You can come from morning, bring your lunch, and night, and send your young person. We just do one student, and they go every half hour. They go to a different part of our company, and our employees have been trained to tell them what it takes to do their job, what education, how much they're getting paid, and things like that. And in a half hour, they get a nice experience. So there's lots of hands-on, and that's the exposure part of young people. The other thing that we supported, of course, is Lego League and First Robotics. And so that's really hands-on things. And Tom and I have sponsored teams and actually went 2 or 3 nights a week to a school, and we did the Lego thing and went all the way to state with one of our teams, and that was really exciting. But we also have donated 7,000 square feet here at Superior Joining for, I think, 5 years, where a First Robotics team was able to be housed for free. And they had, the first day they were in our facility, they hacked our computer system. So it's always fun. It's always interesting, but so there's all those aspects that we forget about being part of manufacturing. It's banking, it's sales, it's accounting, advertising, writing, like what you do,
Yep.
or doing the interviews, and then of course how to do things. And then so many young people have graduated to be engineers and or work in assembly at some of the local facilities, all because of the things that we've done for 20 years. So that's inspiring young people, and we've spent a lot of money. And I guess I forgot about the NIU motorsports teams. We've also done that. But the other thing is I believe that there's women that have started one direction in a field, and it wasn't satisfying or wasn't paying the way they would like it to do, that didn't have the growth opportunities. Well, I believe manufacturing is the perfect place for those women to start a career, of course, but come into a new career. And then we want to grow the ladies, the women that are in our shipping and receiving or in our accounts payable. And if they want to come into leadership roles where they are running plants or running production or doing outside sales, any of those kind of things, I think it's important to encourage people. And so that's part of why we started Women of Today's Manufacturing. It was the Association of Women in Metals first, and they wouldn't allow us to have camp, and they wouldn't allow us to do a scholarship. That's the other thing. I've helped raise over $100,000 for scholarships, and between several non-for-profits, and it's pretty exciting to see young people get scholarships so that they can go and do the school things, or young people that, well, they're maybe just doing an assembly job, but they want to do programming on the machine, or they want to go get their apprenticeship. And so we have scholarships for that available. I think it's really exciting what women can bring to a manufacturing facility. organization, thinking outside the box, planning, thinking fast, good communication skills, lots of things like that. And those kind of jobs, if we can come every day and do them, give us personal satisfaction too. And then they're often a higher paying job than working at a non-production company. And we have benefits, and we can give a really good lifestyle for women. And I believe that the organizations like WIM and Women of Today's Manufacturing, or the Women in TMA group, there's different groups that you can join. And then there's, of course, the Women in Engineering, and there's different groups that are places where you can come and meet somebody and find out what somebody else's job is, and you're like, wow, I could take a couple more classes and get there. Or you just build relationships and get hired into another company. And I know multiple women that have had that success because of that.
Does Superior offer any sort of apprenticeships or internship programs?
Well, we always have a beginning person.
Okay.
We don't really call it an apprenticeship, but we always have a new learner where we'll teach you some basic welding skills, and then you have to practice, but you might also drive the van, or you might count parts or run the laser marker or stuff like that. And then you can build your skill, because we're so highly skilled with welding. We just can't hire someone that doesn't have experience. So we find ways to grow that experience and give a job at the same time. So
I remember having a conversation with Tom, your husband, about some of the things that he does. And it's basically looking for ways that, what did he say? He said something to the effect that it's basically looking for ways that the technology has not been used before. And then you guys are using it that way to fill that niche. And he's always out and about learning and trying to, expand his knowledge on what.
It's been very exciting to do that with him. That's what makes part of manufacturing fun, is because when you can go tour and see how new technology is, or old technology is being used, you get to meet the owners of the company. And that's important also. Many times he's gone to a company to ask for services that we would buy, but he sits with them and says, well, what if you did this? And then they try it and they're successful. So
that's
and
great.
then we're successful because we're able to give our customer a solution different than they maybe thought when they were doing the drawing.
Are you still able to put on some sort of tours now with the COVID restrictions in place, or are you waiting until things get a little bit better to start having people come in to your company again?
I apologize that I'm having trouble understanding your question, but I think that you were asking if we had any obstacles. And the biggest.
You said before that you one of the main things that you did for exposure was open your company up for group tours. And with the restrictions in place with the pandemic, I know that larger groups have to be condensed down to smaller groups. So are you guys still opening your doors for some tours that are smaller numbered, or are you waiting until some of those restrictions get lifted again before you start having more people come in for tours?
Well, we love to have tours, and I have been giving tours with my iPhone now. I started at the beginning just like I did, so I am very excited to still do tours in COVID-19. But we love to have people come and do tours. So we designated space in our company for groups to gather, and then we do training with our employees about what they would say if someone came to their section, because we want them to talk about what skills they need, what it took to get there, what the pay range is, things like that. So,
and I never got this story from you. So I know that you have been involved with Superior Joining Technologies from the beginning. It started in your garage, but what started your personal journey in manufacturing? Like, how did you get involved? Were you always involved with it, or was it something that you just kind of fell into when you met Tom and he got you interested in it?
well, two things. Two things. One is Tom would always come home and talk about these new technologies and things that he was doing at the dinner table. So, and then he would, when we were on vacation or something, he would drag the girls and I. So Shadron and Nikki and I all know all about all these processes, and we've met these owners or famous people. In fact, I'm not going to think of his name, but one of the men that broke the sound barrier first. We met him, and
cool.
that was something that was important to Tom, and we would read books. So we had that at our table, and Tom and I've been married forever. So we had that at our dinner table conversation many, many times. So then when he started the business in the garage, I was working in banking, and I was working as a personal banker that did investments. And so when I went out to the shop one day and there was a pile of mail, and I'm looking through it, and there's all these checks and all these bills. And I said, well, he says, I don't have time to cash the checks or pay the bills. So that got me going. So from that day on. And so then we just grew that, that I would come into the business full time. And while he was outside doing sales, then I would, when we moved to Loves Park, he put me in a 1,500 square foot building all by myself. And if you can imagine that, because I'm really a very person-oriented person,
Yeah.
I get energy from people. And so that was really interesting. But I was waiting for customers to drop stuff off or pick things up and answer the phone. And that's how we got started. But I wrote grants so that we could start getting our ISO and then AS through with IMAC at that time, and different things like that, and joined the chamber and started to learn about business, but mostly about manufacturing. It's
That's
been
a
a great
story.
opportunity for me.
Yeah, and you guys have such a nice facility now. I remember we came and visited you a while ago, and we were really into the inspection area. We were taking pictures for an article that you guys did, and it was so cool just to see like how precise your welds are and the way that you just inspect them to make sure, because you can't have a bad weld in the industry that you serve for aerospace, because it could be catastrophic. So
it's really important.
Yeah. Well,
and we weld materials that are difficult. And so I heard them talking today. That's something we've been practicing with, because we do research and development here, and something that we've been practicing with, when it went to X-ray, it made it through NDT and CWI, but when it went to X-ray, they found a little teeny crack. And so that's, those are the kinds of things that we're very concerned about, and doing lots of training here and cross training so that we can not only meet the current customer demand, but also do research and development for the future. And that's really important to us. As the industry changes and grows, we want to change and grow with it.
I'm really curious.
New materials are part of that.
I'm really curious to see how business will be for your company once the COVID pandemic is over and we can get back to normal, because I feel like everyone is just going to want to travel and just fly everywhere. And, and the aerospace industry, specifically with space exploration too, they're coming out with just a ton of new things. And it's a really exciting time.
Yes.
So
It's exciting that non-government entities are going to space and we are able to participate. We don't have flight critical parts, but we have essential parts and tooling that we're doing for these programs. And but you still have to have the same requirements. We have to be able to do the paperwork and meet the documentation and keep the documentation for a long time. So it's important for us to continue. And there's new cyber requirements that are coming up. So we've done lots of training about that. And it's interesting that the industry just keeps changing. I feel like about 20 years ago, it really started to change. And, with the lasers and the robots and now the additive manufacturing, the sky's the limit with where we can go and how fast we can make things, how we're changing supply chain, how we're changing quoting. We feel that that's part of why we're so successful is we quote so fast, and if you don't these days, you send your quote in and they go, oh, I've already made the part, so it's important to be on the fast track. It's challenging, but it's a lot of fun.
So is there any advice, Teresa, that you would give women who might be in a career that they don't like or might be considering manufacturing? What advice would you give to those women?
Well, I think that they should apply even for shipping and receiving, just to get their foot in the door. And if they know anybody that does manufacturing anywhere, ask, can I come see your place at lunch? Or can you ask your boss if I can have a tour? I think that the more they can see, the more they could see themselves into it. Otherwise, there's lots of great YouTube videos and things if you're kind of interested, and you could Google what do women do in manufacturing or that kind of thing, and then you can start to see yourself in a career. Now, the Community Foundation here in Rockford houses the WOTM scholarship. And so every March we give away money to people that want to go to school. We also have a scholarship now at Rock Valley, and right at Rock Valley, without leaving Rockford, you can get an engineering degree. I highly recommend that. And then there's everything from shipping and receiving to an engineering degree that women could do, and they'd be great at it, and they would be bring a lot to the table and success. And then there's places that just need management skills. If you've got management skills, then you can get hired in to run programs. And then they'll teach you about the manufacturing. But more importantly is keeping people on time, keeping the data. We got to keep all kinds of spreadsheets and things. So women can start with those kinds of jobs. And I think they'd be really happy with them.
Is there anything else, Teresa, that you want to add before I let you go?
Well, it's a privilege always to talk to you, Meaghan. You and I never get to talk enough.
I know.
Thank you to everyone that's kind enough to listen to me today. I hope that you remember how great it is to be part of manufacturing, even though we've had a really difficult go of it lately.
I think the future holds a lot of promise, and I'm hoping doing more episodes like this and talking to more inspirational women like yourself will really get, people thinking of what they can do with their skill sets, because as you mentioned before, there's just so much in the sector and different opportunities, and, not all positions are being on the shop floor. You can start in shipping and receiving, or you can start in the office somewhere and just move up the train. I think that covers it all. Well, thank you so much, Teresa. I'm looking forward to your announcement mid-year, and I hope we'll come back and have a conversation about that and It's always a pleasure talking to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody that listened in today. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. This has been another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. Subscribe for more and make sure to tune in next time.